Inform Napalm International Volunteer Community presents a database with the evidence against Russian professional military servicemen taking part in the war against Ukraine. It exposes personnel of 75 Russian military units sent to Ukraine on the orders of their command, often along with the latest Russian weapons and military equipment. This database is compiled based on Inform Napalm's investigations conducted in 2014 to 2016. Ground Forces. Inform Napalm analysts have identified servicemen from 45 Russian Army ground units. They are infantry, artillery, armored, air defense, reconnaissance, sniper and military drone units. Most battalion tactical groups to fight in the war with Ukraine were formed on the basis of mechanized infantry units of the Russian Southern Military District, that is 136th, 18th, 17th, 8th, 19th, 205th, 33rd and 34th Motor Rifle Brigades, 291st Artillery Brigade and the 7th Military Base, located in occupied Abkhazia. They are primarily staffed by skilled contract soldiers with combat experience gained through the so-called counter-terrorism operations in the Russian North Caucasus, Chechnya, Dagestan, Ingushetia and other regions. Some of the tactical groups were transferred to Ukraine from the more remote parts of Russia. Airborne troops. Our team has identified servicemen from 12 airborne units in Donbass. They have been deployed for rapid response in critical situations and to retain initiative primarily in offensive operations. Battles of Ilovaisk, Debaltseve and Donetsk Airport were all fought with the participations of paratroopers, either forming entire assault groups or reinforcing illegal armed groups. GRU Special Units. Inform Napalm has identified servicemen from 7 Special Force units of the Main Intelligence Directorate, GRU. Russian special forces in Ukraine have been engaged in subversive activities. They were deployed to seize administrative buildings, attack Ukrainian military installations and convoys. At this stage, Russian special forces operatives are integrated into the illegal armed groups in Donbass. Under cover identities, they hold key positions, from deputy commanders to junior officers and specialists for operation and maintenance of the sophisticated types of weapons and military equipment. Navy. Servicemen of 4 naval units have also been detected in the war zone. 61st Marine Brigade and the 200th Brigade of the Northern Fleet were spotted in Luhansk Oblast in 2014 to 2015. 99th Tactical Group of the Northern Fleet in Donetsk Oblast in 2015 and 810th Brigade of the Black Sea Fleet, stationed in the occupied Crimea, in the Mariupol sector in October 2016. National Guard. Servicemen of 5 units, all of them contract soldiers with combat experience in the North Caucasus, have been identified in Donbass. Military professionals from 46th Separate Operations Brigade, 451st Operations Regiment and 15th Special Operations Squad Vyatich were directly involved into battle action and combat training of militants in the illegal armed groups. Air Force. Inform Napalm volunteers have identified in eastern Ukraine servicemen of air defense and signal troops that belong to the Russian Air Force. Detachments of 338th Electronic Regiment of the 51st Air Defense Division were spotted in Donbass in spring 2015. Their task was to ensure airfield security and control airspace with Kasta and Nebo radar systems. The latest Russian surface-to-air missile and gun system, Panzer S-1, was also discovered among the military equipment sent to Ukraine with the Air Force detachments. We could prove that one of these SAMs was assigned to the 606th Air Defense Missile Regiment. Buk M1 missile launcher that brought down MH17 flight is another trace that most likely points to the Russian Air Force operating in Donbass. Russian military units identified by Inform Napalm in Donbass belong to different military districts. Some Russian professional servicemen have been coming to Ukraine from very remote military bases stationed in the Far East, in the Arctic, or even outside of Russia, in Tajikistan, Transnistria and occupied Abkhazia. Military unit from the recently occupied Crimea has been also involved in the war in Donbass. Russian military and political leaders have been using military conflicts in Ukraine and Syria to test new types of weaponry and improve combat efficiency of the Russian armed forces in both conventional and non-conventional or hybrid warfare. The Russian Federation is engaged in the covert military intervention not only in Ukraine, Georgia or other post-USSR countries, but also in the Middle East. Official Moscow states that Russian forces do not carry out any ground operation in Syria, limiting its military involvement to airstrikes. However, Inform Napalm has definite evidence of the contrary. Servicemen of at least 16 Russian military units are involved in the ground offensive in Syria. We identified that 13 of them had earlier participated in the war against Ukraine. By sparking conflicts, creating areas of instability and war zones, Russia demonstrates that controlled chaos has become the axis of the Russian foreign policy. Russia tramples international law, treaties and binding international obligations. More and more people in Ukraine and Syria are becoming hostages and victims of the Kremlin's policy. Only global awareness and consolidated hard stand of the international community can stop Russian aggression in Europe and the Middle East. For more investigations, visit informnapalm.org.